Well, while waiting for parts, I'm going to come out and get started on our new project. We're waiting for tires and wheels on the Corvettes. I've got some surprises for parts on this car too, but we got plenty of stuff to get started. And but we're waiting for parts on just about everything. Got a big order coming in, but in the meantime, we're going to see if we can get the old Gremlin running. So I'm going to give you a little tour on the Gremlin. Kind of rainy out today, but I'm going to do my best to get this in the shop if I can. But if not, we'll get her ready and we'll put her in tomorrow. We're going to get started on this car. We're going to get this motor yanked out. Motor is electric. Engine yanked out. To be politically correct. Yeah, not wrong. So anyway, here's the car, and we'll give a little quickie tour on it before we start moving her around, try to get her in on the lift, and we'll get the motor out of it and see if we can't squeeze this V8 in there. That'd be awesome. Stay tuned. Well, here she is. 1975 Gremlin. AMC Gremlin. She's not in bad shape. Got a little mold going on here, you know, but yeah, moss, whatever. Ooh, yeah. Kind of, yeah. But anyway, a little cleaning up. She's not too bad. Got a tiny bit of rusty there, but I don't think that even goes through. Nope, that's not. That's just a little bit of surface rusting. And the rest of her is in good shape. Let's take a look at the inside. A little messy, but carpets, you know, it's there. It's not wet. Okay, I lied. It's a little wet, but you know, it's not. It's there. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that's a rubber mat. Well, we'll find out about that when we get on the lift. 3-speed on stick. Dashboard's kind of cool. Back seat has got a little rip in the back, but not horrible. Not horrible. Front seats are nice. But good solid car though, you know? We'll get it inside before we start messing with all the trash in here and see what we got. Door shuts nice and solid. I've had this car. I've actually sold this car and then bought it back. I guess it's like Gremlins. It just keeps coming back. Oh wait, it is a Gremlin, but it just keeps coming back like a bad habit. And but I like it. I like this car, and I'm about to give one of my other cars to my daughter because she's learning how to drive. And I'm gonna daily drive this one. So little Gremlin here is kind of cockeyed, but we'll figure it out. Everything's working there. Kind of some briars and stuff on this side, so we can't get in here without getting tore up. So we'll wait till we get her moved a little bit more. Oh, that's a hole. That's definitely a hole. Not bad though. Just goes about there. Another hole. Other than that, that's it. I mean, we'll see what she's like underneath once we get underneath. But I'm pretty stoked about working on this car. And if it wasn't so nasty out today, I'd be all about getting her in there, and I still may. Well, we got the Gremlin up in the air. Now we're going to take a look at what kind of shape she's in. Frame rails look good. Yeah, that one looks good. Let's see. Oh, that one's a little crunchy. Not bad. Yeah, well, take a wire brush to that and get some of that scale out of there. Get that solided. Is that a word? Solided? Make that solid again. Maybe we may have to. It's too bad. It's pretty solid still. We may have to put a little plate in there. No big deal. Alright, everything else looks good. Oop, a little crunchy over here too. Oop, that's weird. That's kind of a strange kind of rust going on there, but not too bad. We can cut a little piece out there and a little bit more of the Captain Crunch over here. I don't know, there's something underneath it. I don't know what. That's weird. Can't really get a good... I don't know what that's all about, but Probably maybe just cut a little patch out of this. Other than that, oh, well, here this follows suit. That looks like one of those license plate repairs, maybe. So we'll probably have to fix that right. We'll get out of the light here so we can see this a little better. There we go. So this side's got a little bit going on here, but not too much. Alrighty. Boy, that's a weird shift linkage. Look at that. Interesting. Should be a 3-speed. We're going to keep her a 3-speed. Frame's pretty solid otherwise. Let's check this side out. No rust. And oh, there we go. Same thing on this side. Weird. I don't know if that's a double floor or if that's one of those classic license plate repairs. It's good on this side. We've got a little scale going on here. Nothing bad. She looks good on this side, real good. So she must have been parked by the ocean or something. Oh, a little bit of crunchy here. It's got something like a double floor in here. So we're gonna have to address that a little bit, but not a big deal. This side, nothing. Perfect. Weird. Okay. So, boy, that's a huge rear end. No kidding, it's not. Little tiny looking thing. No biggie. Thinking that's not good. That's the gas tank. Something's just not right. Permatex, not the cure for gas tanks. Let's see. Oh, mud daubers. Those are always friendly. Let's see what else we got. Oh my. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be able to stick your hand up inside the gas tank. So I'm thinking this might not be good. Anybody know where I can get a gas tank for a Gremlin? Well, it's got a nice new exhaust. Check this out. It's a Flowmaster. Big old Flowmaster in here, so that's a good thing. We'll keep that. Probably have to put another one because we're going to a V8 on this, so we're gonna have to go with another one. So we need a gas tank for sure, and we're gonna have to do a little bit of floor repair. Now, I don't really understand if this is a double floor. We may just rust treat this and fill her in with some stuff, and just to keep water from getting in and making it worse. Give it a little wire brushing. You know I love those wire brushes. Wire brush it and spray it down with some rust changer stuff, magic stuff. And then of course none of this has, it all has some, whoop, that's carpet I think, so that's carpet. So we definitely have to put a patch there, I'm thinking. So okay, well, so we'll maybe pull the carpet up at another time, and that bushing probably not the best, but we'll just make believe that's just fine. And other than that, I think new gas tank or another gas tank, and the brakes are working. Yeehaw! And put this one's knocking like the Avon lady, so take this engine out. And look, she had an STP filter, so somebody took care of it. Okay, that's pretty much the bottom of this car. That's not too bad. I'm probably not gonna, this is a low budget build, so I'm probably just gonna kind of stop the rust and plug the hole so it doesn't rain inside the car. And then other than that, we're not gonna go too crazy on spending a lot of time or money on this. It's gonna be a driver, but it's not bad. I can live with it. It's a drivable unit. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to drop this gas tank mainly because I got to see if I can find an alternative to it. And if I can't, then I'm going to have to fabricate one out of aluminum, I'm guessing. If I can find one that's close, this is going to be the stickler. I'm thinking A-body Mopar looks similar, and I can't really tell. But I got to find out where the filler tubey thingy is. That's technical for, you know, where you put the gas. And once I figure that out, we may have to modify it a little bit, because on an A-body Mopar, she's going to be over here on the driver's side and going up through the trunk. This is going here. So it's going from the middle of the car down into the top-ish of the gas tank, which is a great place for it, because you should fill from the top, right? Makes sense. So anyway, gotta love this. I'm gonna see if I can't get a little better view of this lovely gas tank. Nope. Lighting is so... Oh, hey, look, the float. I can see the float. It's there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not repairable. Maybe I probably could repair it in a pinch. I hope I'm not that desperate, but we may. But there's holes everywhere. I mean, everywhere. So probably not. Maybe an A-body will work. We seem to have a little bit of extra room in the front. So if we need to put a little bit wider one, you know, we can. And we'll see if we can't find something. If not, it's off to the fabricators to see what they're going to charge to build one custom, or maybe a fuel cell around the same size. We can modify it, and we'll see what we can do. Let's get this out of here first, and then we'll decide exactly what we're going to do. First things first, we're going to put a little smooth juice on there so that I find if you always use the right tool for the job, PVC cutter works great on hard fuel lines. I'm just gonna cut the lines because they're so old and so hard. They're really hard. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them with this. Made easy work of it, just being careful not to cut the line, the wire connectors, because I'm going to reuse those hopefully. Even if I end up buying a fuel cell, that wire is in great shape. Okay, so we may end up running a new wire anyway. But somebody did a really nifty job of zip tying this with like 400 zip ties to make sure this wire didn't get damaged. But let's see if I can get this off. Well, we'll probably get out the old knife. And that's something you never leave home without. As always, I've carried this Leatherman forever. I think I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again because it's a good one. I actually was putting a license plate on a new car that my wife bought. Well, not new, but another car that my wife bought. And we drove 80 miles home. And I had left the knife on the back bumper of the car. And strangely enough, when I got home, it was still on the back bumper of the car. So, pretty cool story. And this knife was my father's. When he passed away, I inherited it. And I was really distraught when I thought I had lost it. So the fact that it was still on the bumper made me ecstatically happy. And oh, look at that. I don't know. I gotta show you this. This is here. You're gonna like this. It doesn't get much better than this. Okay, I can't not show you this. So here we go. Can you see this? That is what was on the connector up here, right here. It was just this little alligator clip, and then somebody just black taped it to the, I guess it works, but the fact that, if you can see it, well, maybe it wasn't like that, but it looks like that hose clamp was actually hitting it. So I'm pretty sure that wasn't working out real good. But I had to show you that. Well, that wasn't too bad. But don't worry, there's another one. There's always the potential for not good. Well, let's see what happens. Getting plenty of dirt in my face. Wow. Yeah. Something wrong, that went too easy. I'm about to get a snoot full of gas tank, I think. I know, uh-oh. Well, I see what's going on now. There's a little inspection cover here. Well, yeah, but that ain't coming out without taking the bumper off. Well, I'll be dipped in horse butter. That ain't good. Does that mean... Well, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to pull the gas cap off. I'm going to undo the screws that hold the neck in, the filler neck. See if we can't pull the whole thing out in one piece, which may be how it's going to go. Anyway, and we'll see. Well, maybe this panel up above it comes off easy enough. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Well, let's get her down a little bit and see exactly what we're up against upstairs. Well, let's take the old Gremlin cap off of here. Well, maybe that's easier said than done. Anybody else know how to do it? She's looser there. There we go. Boy, that's a don't steal any gas from me cap. Of course, maybe with the big gaping holes. Look at the little Gremlin. The big gaping holes in the gas tank, you're not going to steal any gas from me anyway. This panel is held in by, that's a little extra paint there, never hurt anybody. Alright, I think there's a plate that goes there. Wow, that's where the plate, okay then. Anyway, so yep, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6ers here, but this has to come this way. So I'm still not really knowing how we're going to get this up, but we're going to figure it out. Well, that's that. So that's not going to go easy. I think we need a pry bar. Okay. Got a crowbar. Let's get started. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're not going to use this. Nice strip this ball. No, actually, this is what we're going to use. It's plastic. It's a plastic pry bar. That way we don't do any damage because there's a little paint action going on here. And if that doesn't work, well, then we may have to get some more drastic stuff in here. Maybe a hammer. Give her a little non-abrasive hammer. And give her a smackety-doo or two. You see how that goes. But We're definitely not going to pry on it with a crowbar. Let's try this. Wow. She's been there a day or... Oh, there we go. She's loose. She's been there a day or two. Now the fun part begins. We're gonna... Because the... There's a clamp in here. Don't ask me how I was supposed to get it. Then again, maybe if I had opened the hatch, it might have been down inside there somewhere. Technically, I think the gas tank's out, but I'm going to bring her down a little bit. Just for kicks and giggles, I'm gonna take a look-see in the hatch here and see if maybe that's not what I was supposed to do. So hang tight. Let's see what happens. Well, there we go. This was what was in the way. There's a panel, a little plastic panel with some pop buttons, I call them. They just kind of pop in. They got little ridges on them. And you just pop them out with a little forked piece of equipment there. And you can see this hose that was holding it's a little bit dry. So needless to say, that's going, by the way. This is also no good, but this, however, we're going to need. So we'll get a new hose to put on here, and there we go. So now back up in the air we go. Get that gas tank the rest of the way out, and we're good to go. But this does go straight through, kind of covered up by some plastic in the back. So let's see just if we can substitute this fuel tank, or we'll be making a new one. Alright. Isn't that special? Something's still hanging me up. Probably gonna fall, and that's okay because she's not going back in. Let's go. Ready? I heard anything? Woo! Nope, didn't come out. Being quick movement is the secret here. Whoa, what do we got going on here? What is that? I'm guessing that's a vent of some sort. So we're gonna do the right thing and just cut it off. And there we go, folks. One very rusty, holy gas tank. Let's go see. Let's take some measurements and see if I can get this, replace this with an A-body Mopar, because I got some of those. I'll probably buy a new one because I'm going to have to weld on it to put that spout on there. I don't really want to weld on one that has fuel in it. Not the best idea. I've done it. I've also had them shoot, well, it's hard to figure on this thing. Shoot sparks, you know, 5 or 6 feet out of the spout. So, not sparks, flame. So we're probably not going to do that. So let me go fetch one and see if we can't compare them and if they look good, or if I can get it to go up in there. Then we'll do some modifying and we'll buy a new one because they're not very much money, and weld on it and see what we can do. So hang tight, be right back. Well, I think we're golden because if you look at this, we're at 33. If I go here, I'm at 30 and a half. So she's a little more narrow. Let's go here. And we're 20. And 19 and a half. So we're pretty close. Thickness, I think we're more than fine. Thickness, I don't really care so much what's hanging underneath as much as I do 5 inches to the top. This is more shallow. Don't really matter how much she hangs out from the bottom as long as it's not too much, but overall this one is from the ground 10 inches. And this one is 10 inches. So they're going to be about the same. The thing that you're going to notice is the A-body Mopar has this big cutout for the spare tire, which we don't have here. And my filler is down here. We should put it about here on this one. While I could do that, that means when I fill her up, it's going to be up inside the hose. So what I might do is put it here, okay? And then I'll just use a curved hose. That'll go from here to here. And I think that's going to work just fine. So rather than spending mucho dollars on a custom fuel tank, I'm going to order a brand new A-body Mopar. And I'm going to lose a few gallons, obviously. And I'm going to have to take this hole here, you know, this one here, and I'm going to have to solder that up. So we'll just find kind of a disky thingy, something about that size, and we'll solder her in and or weld her in. Because this is thin stuff. It's really, really, really hard to weld on this stuff, but you can solder it. So what we'll do is if we can find something that fits on there pretty good, we'll clean this up. Well, we're going to get a brand new one. And we'll go ahead and solder on there. And the same with this. We'll try to get it to fit really, really tight. And I think on this one, yeah, it's soldered on. So we could even, if we wanted to, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it's soldered. We might even cut this one out of here and then reuse this one and solder it in there. We'll see, because these use a grommet on the Mopars, so we are going to have to, and actually worst comes to worst, I could just put a, if I wanted to avoid soldering, I can actually use the Mopar grommet and put it in here, and with a short stubby spout, and just block off the spout with a rubber hose and a cap. So there's a million ways we can do this. The only one that's going to require soldering is this one. And like I said, we're going to put it in here, and we're going to use a rubber hose with an elbow in it, and that'll give me a little flexibility. And I think she's going to work just fine. And the cool thing, and I'll show you this. This is the coolest thing of it all. Is check this out. Check out where the sending units are. Here's the sending unit for the AMC. Here's the sending unit hole. They're perfect. Actually, if you set them over there, it's exactly where the other one is. This one's a little lower, which maybe not. Yeah, this one's a little bit lower, but that's a minor problem to have. So we're gonna order on a brand new A-body. And for you Gremlin people that can't find a gas tank, there's your option. And I will definitely be tubing this when I make this modification, so you can see how I do it. And the Gremlin world is going to get better. I'm going to take this nipple, I guess you would call it, out, and I'm going to reuse it on the other tank because it's in the wrong place, so we're going to have to move it. I'm going to try to just unsolder this one, just simply by heating it up. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to concentrate most of the heat on on the actual tube as opposed to the tank. Of course, I can just cut the tank because in this particular case, you know, we're not reusing it. But I can see the solder starting to loosen up already. So this should work. See it dripping out. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but I can see the solder starting to drip out. I'm getting a little bit of red going on here. So if we can keep that red going on, that should melt the solder out. And this bad boy should come right out. Not so far, but she might be a press fit. So that could be part of it too. We'll just keep trying to work the solder loose. Now, keep in mind, this gas tank had massive holes in it for years. Do not, I repeat, do not do this if you have a, and that's really hot. Woo! Started melting the glove. Evidently this isn't real leather. So we're going to have to find an alternative way to, wow, look at that. An alternative way to get this out of here. She's loose. Oop, and my torch just died, so let's just go ahead and see if I can't find a way to cut this loose. Wow, it melted that glove right to my finger, folks. Let me tell you a little story. Don't feel good. So, I've got some welding gloves, and I think we're going to have to resort to those. Wow, brand new gloves just burned a hole in them. See, you think it's leather? It's pleather. Not good, but we're going to get some welding gloves and start over. Okay, so that wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done. I know a lot of y'all laughing out there. Yeah, it's hot, stupid. You're right. I should have known better. I figured the gloves would protect me. They're supposed to be real leather. No, they're not. I should have known for $8 you weren't going to get real leather. So, here's what it is. No permanent damage to the finger. Just a little bit of pain. Nothing too major. And I think most of my problem isn't the solder holding it now. I can hear it dripping on the inside here. Hear it dripping? I don't know if you can hear that. It's even burning through this glove. Jeez, that's hot. See if we can't. Wow, it's even burning through these. So, yeesh. We're going to have to get to some toolage, and I don't want to distort this at all. So we're going to have to come up with another plan because my finger's not going to take too many more of these. So, okay, let's see what we can come up with if we can't somehow grab a hold of it and not burn myself. Well, let's try her again. Woo! No. I probably should move all the flammable things that are nearby. But, they're far enough away. Don't try this at home. Alright. Derek from Vice Grip Garage would be proud I'm using his favorite tool. I've got about every conceivable vice grip on the planet. Shapes, all different shapes, sizes, grips. So we're going to try and get this one. It's on there pretty good. So I'm going to try to get, as long as these don't heat up too much, which is possible. Worst comes to worst, we'll just hog this bad boy out of here. And we'll grind this off. But I thought this would be a nice way to get it out. Nice and neat. Maybe with a little solder intact. So when we re-solder it onto the new tank, we still have a little bit of material, you know. So there we go. Woo! Boy, it ain't in there by much. Just a little tiny bit. But I'll tell you, I'll show you in a second why I went through all that. Oh, I was just getting ready to touch it with my hand again. Let's not do that. Okay, if you look right here, you'll see that there's a little bump, a little ridge here too. This is one for the hose, and this one is so that when you solder it, it doesn't go, you know, too far in. That'll stop it, and then you're just going to put your solder around that little bump. Okay, so hopefully you can see that, but here we go. Yeah, you can see it pretty good right there. So you see this little bump here, and so we're going to push that in up to that bump. I'm going to go clean it off on the bench grinder. If y'all haven't learned by now, bench grinders, wire brushes on bench grinders, and wire brushes are some of my favorite tools. They are just so versatile, and I just had to buy some new ones because this one about wore out. And I use this to clean up some wheels. I got some old vintage wheels. Use it to clean them up, get the rust off them, and then I treated them. But so anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get over to the bench grinder. We're going to clean this up a little bit, and we'll pop her in the new tank. And that's going to be, the new tank is galvanized. I had two choices. Stainless steel would be great, but stainless is very, very hard to weld to. It has to get hotter, and I'm not sure. I've never used solder on a stainless item, so I'm not really sure how well it would solder. Galvanized is just cheap steel that's got a coating on it. Of course, when you weld galvanized, it puts off a poisonous gas that can kill you, so you want to be careful with that. But we're not technically welding-ish, maybe, kind of, sort of, but not really. We're soldering, which this stuff is not going to get that hot. I got this way hotter than I would if I was, you know, when I put this into the new one. I'm not going to get it near that hot. I'm going to get it a little bit warm, and then I'm going to drip the solder into it. We're going to use body solder because it melts at a very low temperature, because you don't want to warp sheet metal, right? So we're going to have to work on that tank a little bit, and we'll get into that in a minute, but just letting you know, we're going to go ahead and clean this up, see how hard it's going to be to get her in the new tank. Well, here comes the difficult part. This is going to be a bit of a challenge. This has got a curve here, it's got a curve here, it's got a curve here, and it's got a dimple, if you will, over here. Now technically I need to go in the center, so I'm just going to determine center first. I'm going to go double check on the other one, make sure it is dead center, but as you can see, this is a little smaller than this, so this may not be dead center. So if I can come over here a little bit, that might be ideal. So let's go measure real quick on the other tank and make sure we're going in the right place. Well, it kind of worked out to my advantage. The other one is actually 13.5 from the outer edge to the edge of the hole. So that puts me at about 13.5 here. And then 15 from that corner. Oh, well, puts me here. So basically this tank is a little smaller. Boy, it looked about the same size, but it's completely smaller. But it does look like my center is where I would like it to be. So I've got some room to go inside. Oddly enough, they looked almost identical, but evidently this one's just a squeeze smaller. I thought I measured it, but it fit. I put it up inside the car, so it works. But it looks like I can go right here without any problems. Not to mention, I'll show you this real quick. This is how I'm making it happen. Because the other spout was here, you know. So I have to get there. And so I'm going to get here by using a rubber hose. Okay? So this rubber hose will go on here. And then it's going to, this curve, I can shorten it a little bit if I need to, takes up that space because on an A-body Mopar there's a spare tire here. On the Gremlin there is not. So I've got all this extra space. So I'm simply going to put this hose here and make up the difference. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. You know, I'd like to get the hose as close to the top as possible, just because, you know, we'll be, you know, you don't want to be splashing in your fuel. But unfortunately, for me to do that, you know, I'm going to be up in this radius here, so I don't want to do that. And in all reality, you know, the way these are designed, you know, it's going to be in there no matter how you look at it. So we're just going to go ahead and put this kind of where I wanted to, right over in this little flat spot here. And I'm going to, see, it rocks though, see that? Because I'm on a radius, so we're going to have to modify that a little. You know, because I have to go back that far in order to get out of the radius. We're probably not going to go there. That's just, I think that's too far. But that's pretty darn flat right there. So I wouldn't really have to do much of, I might go that route. I just might do that. I'm going to come in a little bit into the radius, but I think I'm asking for trouble if I go too far. So we're just going to go right here. Okay, yep, nice and neat, did you see? Alright, now what I did is I got a hole saw, and this hole saw is like older than my father, I think. My father had it, and when he died I inherited it. So it's probably 30, 40 years, 50 years old, but I found it's the best one because I want to go inside, and I want it to be kind of a press fit going in, kind of like that other one we took out. It was kind of a fiasco getting it in there. So I want as small a hole as I can get. So I'm going to go with this one. I've got another one that's a little more aggressive, but it's slightly bigger, and I'm afraid that I'm going to have too much space. So we're going to try this one and see if it still cuts after being 50 years old. Maybe that should be the name of this video. Will it still cut after 50? If it's that old. I don't know how old it is, but it's at least, I'm going to say 30, 35 years old. At least, if not older. So anyway, here we go. Now I've got a little doodah got set up here because, let's see. So the thing with a hole saw, once you cut, there's no going back because you have that pilot drill in the middle. Once this hole is the size it is, then it's the size it is. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it close. Well, it's cutting, but I don't know what just happened. Oh, I gotta tighten my little. Here we go. Sometimes the old tools are the best tools. And this has got a, see those rings in there? It's got a series of these blades that, it's got a little lock doodah here that goes all the way through. And what happens is you just take this one off, put the next one in, you take that screw out, and then you take, so it's a great tool. I don't know if they make these anymore, but it's a great tool. Okay, here's the moment of truth. Will this go in the hole? It's a little on the small side, I think. That's kind of what I wanted, because I want to kind of force it in there. So I'm going to get a rubber mallet and see if we can't force that thing down in there. Talk about tools. I think this rubber mallet's like 500 years old too, but she still works. So here we go. Ready? Oh boy. I think it's gonna go, but before I do that, I want to put some flux and everything around this, get it prepped, get it prepped, and that way all I got to do is heat her up, lay some solder in there, and we're done with that part of it anyway. Now basically I'm taking the galvanizing off of here, and you'll see that you can see the difference where I've taken it off of. And so in this area I'm going to have to paint it when we're done. And this is in a little bit for me beating on that. So we'll have to take that into consideration. I'm trying not to take too much material because I want to keep the original material, but I want to give the solder something to bite into, So, here we go. I might get because of the way that went in like that, I think I'm going to get something and pry it upward. I'd rather have it kind of go like this, coming out, as opposed to going in. So let's keep. There's going to be some debris inside the tank. I'm going to have to clean that off later. Alright, and then we're going to lay some flux in there. I'm going to have to get some chemicals and clean it up. I'm just going to use lacquer thinner. Put a little lacquer thinner on there, clean it up. And then we'll put that in there and get the torch out again. See just how good I can solder. This is a small piece of the solder I'm going to use. Is body solder, and so I'm just going to. I've got some thinner solder, but I want to lay a nice big bead on there, and so that I want to be able to see it. Like before, you couldn't see it at all. I don't know if they welded it from the inside, because you can see the tanks in two pieces that they put together. So I'm thinking they might have soldered it from the inside originally, but I am not going to not able to do that, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to get this as tight as I can on here. It's pretty tight. Some of you may ask, hey Dave, why do you prefer a wire brush over a sandblaster? Because I used a wire brush to clean this piece up on the inside, and I had to do it by hand. And I could have taken the sandblaster and just blasted it in there. There's a couple of reasons behind that. Is one, I just hate standing next to that sandblast cabinet, and with all that dust flying around, and because no matter how tight your cabinet, it seems to come out somehow, and it's hard to see in there, and the glass gets misty. You got to constantly keep changing the glass. And I have a sandblaster, but I like the wire brush because I can visually see it. You can paint the surface when you're done, whereas with a sandblaster, you've got to scuff it again, because it doesn't really paint well over a sandblasted surface. And mess. When I pull this piece out, I could have microscopic or just some pieces of sand in there. No matter how much I blow it out, wash it out, whatever, I could end up with a little bit of sand in there or media. And I just don't want that inside this gas tank. And when you do a whole car, you get sand everywhere. You know, and soda blasting I don't mind so much because that kind of disappears when you wash the car, but that's got its disadvantages too. So I just like a wire brush. Of course, there's places for sandblaster. You can't get in tight spots with a wire brush, and so obviously you got to use a sandblaster for those. I'm just gonna go back to this. Enough preaching on the wire brush, but I'm just kind of bending this upward a little bit. Not a lot, just enough to give me a little lip, you know, like a teenager, a little lip. And then when we see how we're doing here. Now here's something that, I don't know if you can see it, but speaking of a little lip, there's a little lip right here, so it goes in and kind of locks into place, and it's a little small here, I don't like that, but you know, that locking in, it's kind of a neat thing. So I'm gonna, man, that's just beautiful. It's just going in there. I think if I raise that lip just a tad more, I might be able to sneak her in there without doing a whole lot of pounding. Now, if you'll remember, this kind of goes down a little bit in here because of this radius. So by doing this, I'm kind of eliminating that radius. And there we go. Come on, baby. Let me get this. Man, it's tight, which is what I wanted. So. Nope, she's kind of bending down a little bit, so I might take a tiny bit of that material off with a die grinder. I can't get her to go in. The idea is, once I get her in there, I'm going to use the actual swedge to push back down on this. I think I like doing it this way. I may regret that decision. Ooh. Man, that is so very close. It's a little bit of a nuisance, but it'll be worth it when I'm done. I'm going to want this thing super tight because you can't really, solder doesn't really fill as good as regular other welds. There we go. She's in. There we go. All right. That is it, folks. She is in there and she is tight. So what I'm going to do now is get some new knees. Oh, that's pretty. That's downright pretty. All right. So maybe we just hit this a couple more times. Kind of seat her in there nice and tight. Oh yeah. I like it. I'm getting way ahead of myself here. I'm going to go ahead and clean her up with a little bit of lacquer thinner. I'm going to use a toothbrush as an applicator. See how long a toothbrush will last with lacquer thinner on it. But you want to clean this area nice and clean. And lacquer thinner will dissipate just about as fast as it shows up. So it's going to be my go-to. Get a clean rag. wipe it down. She's in there good and tight. I like it. She's not moving at all while I'm doing this. So that tight fit, all we got to do is seal it up. So there we go. Get the lacquer thinner off of the. Probably should, maybe go put it somewhere where it's not going to get fire. Those big crashes you're hearing are ice coming off of my roof. So, it's cold out, so the flux is not so pliable. But want a lot of flux. Keep that. Get it to seep all the way through there. When it starts to melt, flux is just just turns to goo and liquid, and it usually does you good. Come on. Doesn't want to come off the brush. Here we go. Come on. All right. Talking to myself, talking to you. That's why I started YouTube, because when I work, I tend to talk to myself. So rather than looking like an idiot, I figure I'll put a camera on and make it look like I'm talking to somebody else. So y'all will have to figure out if I'm talking to you or myself. Alright, I think that should ought to do it. It didn't go as nicely as I planned. It's kind of not very sticky because it's so cold out. So it's just kind of there, but it's working. So I will fire up the torch. Now this is the first time I've ever used body solder on something like this. So this may or may not be the best idea ever. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna clean this off too, because it's kind of dirty, been sitting in a drawer for a while. Well, it's definitely not pretty, but I'm hoping it should be good enough. We'll let that cool and we'll see just how good it's in there. Hopefully it flowed in there somewhat. I started off getting it too hot, and this type of solder doesn't like to get where you're, because like I said, it's body solder, so it's designed for body panels, and for sheet metal you don't want to get it really hot. So, and that's kind of where we were at with this. I liked that it was fitting nice and tight. I don't think it's going to take a lot to seal her up. Making that little raise here, I probably should have leaned this back a tad more to kind of even it out. She's wanting to all flow this way, so I probably should have done that. But and here's the problem: is testing it. I don't really have any good way of testing it because the way this is designed, you know, I'd have to fill it quite a ways to get fuel up in here. Now on this end here, I went a whole different route on this. You'll notice I put a grommet in here, and the way this tank is designed, come on baby, sit there. She doesn't want to play nice. There we go. The way this is designed is on a Mopar, the spout comes in from here, and this grommet seals around that spout. So I know you're all in suspense, so I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. This is the Mopar filler tube, but as you can probably see, it's a little tweaked. So I pulled this out of a Barracuda that had been hit kind of hard in the back, and it kind of tweaked this a little bit, so I'm not ruining a good piece. Now I was thinking I may want to cut it up in here, and that way I got this little flange. That'd look real nice over there. Whoop, she's gonna fall. That's fine. Alright, so I thought, you know, that'd look kind of nice with this flange right here, and that would just kind of stay out of trouble. But I was thwarted by this little vent here. So I can weld that up easy enough. This stuff's pretty thick. It should weld halfway decent. But, you know, I've still got to weld the cover here either way. So then I figured, well, if I cut it down here, which has already got the little radius on it to push it in there, and it's got a little baffle too, so not that that matters. We're not going to need that, but I'll cut this one, and if I cut this one, I can probably get it down in there a little further, and I can put a cover over it with a little bit of a flange, you know. So I'll use this end, and when I weld my piece on here, we'll put a little flange on it so that it'll fit flush up against that, and hopefully that rubber seal will work as well. So I've got two potential leakages if this doesn't work out, and we'll find out once we get it in. And the cool thing about it is it's not that difficult to pull this back out. So if I put her in, fill her up, and I notice I've got a drip, well, then I guess I'm pulling her back out and try it again. But then welding is not going to be so easy because it will be full of gas. So just because I like to overdo things, I bought some gas tank sealer, and I'm going to take that gas tank sealer and I'm going to put it around this just to double seal. Now I'm working on the piece to go in that I was just talking about, the rubber grommet. I decided to use this end just because the other one wasn't any better. I'm going to go ahead and tack it in place, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish welding. Well, I guess we're a little hot. It burned through in a couple of spots. And yes, it's hot. I'm going to kind of do what I call ideal welding. And what that is you put it at an angle so everything just kind of falls into place. almost forgot to do this. If you'll remember when you looked at the tank, in fact, let's just go ahead and bring you over there. If you look at the tank, this is about an inch, inch and a half from the top of the tank. So what's going to happen is once this fills up with gas, it's going to shut the pump off, and you won't be able to fill it any further. So what I need to do is I need to vent it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece, and I put a hole in it. See the hole? And I tapped the hole for a pipe tap. And it's going to go here, and then I'm going to put a vent. We'll put a hose off of that line up to a vent with a one-way valve on it that you can get off of just about any differential that has a vent on it. And I've got a whole yard full. And basically that's what that is going to be, is just a vent so that it doesn't shut my pump off. So as we see, I've got my tapped hole. Now that's a pipe tap, because if you'll remember, I filled this with lead, so I've got about a 1/4 inch of lead in there to work with. If you just welded your sheet metal and you've got a little better weld than I did, this stuff was so thin I couldn't get my welder low enough. I thought it was like exhaust pipe thick, but it's not. So it came out crappy and leaked, so I filled it with lead. But if you do a better job of welding than I did, then what I would do is they sell valve stems. I don't know if I have one. Let me see if I've got one handy. I do have one. If you have this type of valve stem, now I'd almost prefer to use this, really, honestly, and I might be able to if it's long enough. It may be, but unfortunately if it's not long enough, then oh, what the heck. This one isn't much good. Deteriorated. But anyway, if you can get this kind of valve stem that bolts on, you could put this through the hole. You know, instead of threading it in, you could put it in through the hole. This one would actually do both if I could get it in there. But I've already done this way now. This would actually work really well. But you get this valve stem, you put it through the hole, and then you crush it in there, and it will seal up there for you. So that would be another alternative to the way I'm doing it. I'm just going to do a pipe tap with a nipple. This one would work just as well. Man, I almost prefer to do that. Kind of wish I looked into that first. I just don't know if I've got enough because there's a lot of lead in there. It'd probably go though. I think it would. Pretty sure it would. Well, we'll see how the lead works, but we're going to go ahead and put my original plan into play. It's going to put this little nipple on here. This is also going to serve to kind of make the plate that I welded and the lead one, because this is going to become both. It's going to kind of wedge both pieces together. And here we go. She's tightening up nice. We don't want her to leak, so we're going to get her good and snug so temperature changes won't affect it. And there we go. That one's in there. As you can see, it's all the way in. And we're just going to put a piece of hose on here. And then there's, go to the end, if you look at most differentials, follow the differential to the end, and on the end of that little hose that's coming off the vent on the differential. And some of them just have the little vent right there. But we want to put it on the end of a hose because we have to get it higher than the spout. In this case, you know, some of the rear ends just have it sitting on top of the axle and it's just like really small. But in our case, we need to go with a hose that goes at least as high as the filler neck, and that way the vent is higher than the filler neck and it'll allow fuel to go up of it, because we're using this big kahuna. So anyway, I figured I'd throw that in there, show you what I was doing there. The little valve stem idea is probably a better idea than this. If you're a better welder, or you did a better weld on this, or you came up with some other idea, then you know, you would wouldn't have to do the lead, and you wouldn't have all that material to work with, and just put that little valve stem in there and crush it in there. And that's, in my opinion, I'd actually would have preferred to have gone that route, but I did it this way. So you can, once again, learn by my mistakes. This is a first timer for me trying to make this work, and you know, for you guys or girls, you can do it however you want. But I really kind of like the whole valve stem idea. So there we go. Oops, throw it. Stress test, it passed. That's all I got. So there you go. And that's pretty much turning an A-body gas tank into a Gremlin gas tank, since you can't buy one. So if you got a Gremlin and you can't find a gas tank, now you can. And I think I paid about 165, 175, 80 with shipping and everything, maybe 180-ish. Less than $200. Let's go that way. So less than $200 to get a Gremlin gas tank. Whereas I'm guessing if you actually did find a good one, they'd probably make you chew your arm off to get it. So brand new gas tank. A little bit of a challenge getting that solder. Probably body solder may not have been the best idea. And now that I think about it, you know how I made everything kind of convex and then I slid it in there and kind of packed it all in? I probably should have went concave, because the solder would have set down in there. Hindsight's 20/20. So if you do this, do yourself a favor, go with the concave, make a dent. You know, when you're putting that pipe in there, pound it down in there, make yourself a little holler in there, and then fill that holler with the solder, and that'll be good. But I got the hole was nice and tight, and I was very happy with that, because the tighter the hole, the better your chances of filling that with the solder. Because solder's not a real good filler-upper, but it's really good about, if you got a tight fit, it's real good about seeping into that tight fit and making it stick. But as you saw, it wasn't real pretty, the weld that I did. But I don't care about pretty. It's inside. Nobody's ever going to see it. You know, if you really want it pretty, you can kind of grind it up a little bit, you know, sand it, and, you know, because it's body, basically it's body filler. But it's metal body filler. And it's like they did in the old days, and some people still do. And, you know, so we could make it pretty. I'm not going to. Just a waste of time, in my opinion. It's not a show car. I'm going to drive it. So we're going to drive her on rainy days even. Oh, we're driving your hot rod. It's my day. I want it for a daily driver. I've got that one little sports car I've been driving, but in crappy weather I end up taking the truck. And now, I don't know about you all, but we're paying like $5 a gallon for gas. And I'm not taking that. Diesel's like 5 something, right? Over 5. I'm probably creeping towards 6 or more. I'm not driving that big dually. She's not going to do it unless I absolutely have to. So this little bugger, she's getting a V8, yes, but it's a small one, 290. It's a stick. So we're going to keep on working on the Gremlin here. We're going to get this other engine in. We're going to get it running. But I needed a gas tank, so I started with a gas tank. So, okay, done talking now. Gas tank's ready. We're going to pull the motor out, get everything done, get the motor in it, put this gas tank in, hook her up, because like we looked at earlier, it's got the sending unit, everything's the same. I did order an A-body sending unit, so it would fit in there right, hoping that the ohms is the same, but if not, we can adjust on that. So there we go, folks. If you got a Gremlin, you can't find a gas tank, now you can. And if you need any specifics, just go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll try to answer as many of your questions as I can, and maybe give you specifics if you need them. But that'd be that. Do me a favor, subscribe, helps me out. Looking forward to doing more of these videos. The more people that subscribe, the better my chances are of being able to do more and more content. So do me a huge favor, subscribe if you like my videos. If you don't like them, don't watch them. That's all I can say. But if you like them, please subscribe. Try that in English. Mouth's a little cold. Please subscribe. Thank you.